Does God care about what we wear to church? And is the whole concept of wearing your Sunday best important or superficial?
It's a good question. Can you? I'm very interested on why this question came up for you, Tabs. Tell me why it came up.
Well, okay, so just conversations with friends, basically. I know a few people that recently have had like this pondering thought of I want to show respect to God when I go to church. And one of the ways that they've decided to do it is to dress well while going to church. They find that that is a way that they tell themselves, this is me going to a special place. This is me
Yeah.
going to meet with God. This is how I'm going to show respect.
Isn't this you've got a friend who literally wears like a three-piece suit?
I know some people that do that.
Yeah.
And I also have friends on the kind of opposite side that are like, everyone should come as their most authentic self. They should come, even if they're wearing sweatpants, anyone's welcome. Come as you are and have like a different way of seeing it.
Don't put up a facade.
Don't put up a facade.
Yeah, okay.
You're meeting with God. Don't pretend to be like a more fancy version of yourself than what you are. And I just figured it would be a great conversation to have on air.
Yeah, and both those arguments are right. Both those arguments are good, and I would completely affirm both of them. Once upon a time, it was really normal. We're only talking decades ago. It was really normal to dress up to go along to church. Now it's an unusual thing, but let's mention that it's unusual in Western Pākehā, Western Palangi culture. If you step into a lot of cultures, the idea of wearing shorts and t-shirt to church is abhorrent. You step into a lot of cultures and they will wear their Sunday best. So it's largely those of us who are kind of Western Pākehā culture who have decided that we want to be authentic. And so we dress down in order to go to church. And we dress down because we believe that God accepts us as we are. And we want everybody else to feel like they're accepted as well. So if someone walked into church and everybody was dressed to the nines in their Sunday best and they were wearing shorts and t-shirt and didn't realize that there was some sort of dress code, we don't want them to feel out of place. All of those are really, really valid. But I also think that whatever we're wearing, we can come up with a whole lot of justifications that make it sound like we're just being authentic, when in actual fact, all we're trying to do is fit in with everybody else. So if you turn up and you're someone who's like, I'm going to turn up to church and I'm going to be respectful, so I'm going to wear some of my best clothes, and everybody else is wearing shorts and t-shirt, I can guarantee you probably in a few weeks you're going to be wearing shorts and t-shirt as well because you want to fit in. So I think largely that's what's going on. I had an experience across January and February. And I generally exist in a church culture where people turn up casual. And I decided I had a couple of months off from my church. They gave me a sabbatical. And so I went along to Catholic Mass, 7:30 a.m. for a couple of months. And it wasn't like a Latin mass, so everybody didn't generally dress up. Some people did. But I decided that for me, I was going to make sure that I was wearing a nice shirt and my best jeans and dress shoes. So I wasn't dressed up in a suit or anything, but I was dressed up better than I would turn up to many church services when I'm not on duty, where I would be wearing my clerical collar. And I did it as an act of respect. I did it because I was turning up to a place where I knew that the Mass was taken very seriously, that when the Eucharist was presented, the belief was there that Jesus was being presented and that you're being given Jesus. And whilst I didn't take the Eucharist because of Catholic rules, I wanted to honor what I thought was taking place there. And I thought, if I had an audience with King Charles, I would dress up, and I would be dressing up as an act of humility and respect and almost submission as well, submitting to what I would perceive the rules to be. So there's a question of submission here. And I would say that some of us, whatever we choose to wear, are doing so because that's what we want to do. And so I think there's a question here of what does humility look like? If we were to address what we're wearing and ask a question of humility and to go, okay, what would humbling myself here look like, and not just come up with a bunch of justifications for that. It might be interesting to see what we think we should wear if we address it with a question of humility. And I like using this approach because this is what Peter says in 1 Peter 5 verse 5 when it comes to what we should wear. He's talked about how elders should behave in the church. He's talked about how younger people should behave in the church, younger people being subject to their elders. And he says this, clothe yourselves, all of you, with humility toward one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So the thing God encourages us to wear is humility.
Now, you won't believe this, Frank, and I don't know if you were tuned in at about 5 to 7, which was only 20 minutes ago on the show, but that is literally our Bible Society verse of the day today, is
Oh,
First
wow.
Peter 5, verse 5. The exact same thing that we were just talking about.
No, what I was doing was getting out of my gym clothes at 5 to 5 and putting on a shirt to be respectful to you guys.
That is good. I know we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the prodigal son coming up next, so do stick around. But one thought I had, and I guess what we're kind of saying is, you got to look at yourself and the context and environment that you're in, and maybe it's an individual thing about whether you get dressed up in your Sunday best. But do you think there's ever kind of I've felt like I've been to a church environment before where a lot of people dressed up quite nice, quite well presented, you would say. And when I look around, it looks like everyone has everything together. No one looks like they've got any issues or anything in their life is going on. And then sometimes when you find yourself in that environment where everyone is dressed like that, is there a worry that it could stop you then from maybe addressing some of the things that are going on, or feeling like you need to hide them because everybody else seems to have it together? Look how great they are. Their clothes are ironed and their hair's
Yeah.
all done perfectly, and we're all perfect, but I feel like I'm not. Is there a
Yeah.
risk of that as well?
I can imagine the sort of church you're talking about. It feels very trendy, but a lot of those people are also relatively the same. I think if you step into environments that are truly diverse, where you've got different socioeconomic groups, let's say everybody does decide to dress up. To go to church on Sunday because of what they believe they're doing, and they want to show respect. If you're truly diverse in a socioeconomic way, you can imagine people are going to look quite different.
Yeah.
For some people, that is going to be a nice t-shirt and some jeans that are well past their prime. For other people, that's going to be a three-piece suit. Now, if a church is really diverse, you will see that diversity. The idea that we would turn up and everybody looks relatively the same, which is what happens when our understanding of church is relatively consumer-driven. We find groups that are like us. And so oftentimes you'll walk into churches and people aren't actually that different from each other.